Was that a futures blip, i.e. left order on the chart and went to bed?
No, it was no. I wish it was just my. I'd been on a great winning streak on my personal for the past couple of months. I know exactly what my daily bias is going to do, so I just took my trade based off the daily bias. I just kind of went to bed. I was happy to hold the position, and then I woke up and the daily ended up having a huge rip down, and I was long into a new high of week, and then I woke up to minus 20,000 in drawdown, and then that was a whole mental battle that day to actually.
All right, folks, here we are on Trading Up. We've got Aaron Luce back in the house. This guy's a familiar face. He's been on the show a couple of times before, and he's, back on again to help us become better traders. Welcome back to the show, Aaron.
Thank you. Good to be back on. I appreciate you having me back on. It was a good one last time. We'll make it even better this time. I appreciate it.
Well, look, if people don't know you, I mean, look, so year to date, we're going to have a look at a screenshot, or you're going to share your screen, and year to date, you've done $250,000 in profits. So let's jump to that now. Why don't you share your screen and just show people so they know you're legit, they know you're the real deal, and what they're about to learn today is going to help them fundamentally improve their trading.
Absolutely. Let me do it. I'll share my personal account with you. So this is my personal account. You can see Blue Markets on the left. That's Australian regulated broker. And if I go to custom period, if I just go to the last 6 months here, this is personal. I usually trade personal. I trade prop accounts as well, and I also trade stocks. But my personal account, which is literally just trading gold, sometimes silver. Started this in February when there was the restrictions on prop firms with gold with around 25,000. And we have, over the last few months, taken this to a total of 127,000 in profit. So plus the initial 25 deposit, just here on the personal account, we're sitting at a total of like around 150,000 from February to now, which is halfway through July. That's just the personal account as well.
Nice. Well, folks, let's dive in and find out, how can Aaron's knowledge, experience, and what he's been able to achieve here, even just this year, help you as a aspiring trader. I mean, Aaron, let's go back to where it all started and some of the things that got you over those immediate hurdles that you would have found every trader suffers from, greed, FOMO, revenge trading, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Hey folks, what a view behind me. I'm at Black Bull Markets headquarters here in Auckland, New Zealand. Speaking of views, you can get TradingView paid plans for free at Black Bull Markets, saving you up to $600 a year. That's right, get either the Essential, Plus or Premium plans absolutely free, and all you need to do is trade from one lot a month at Black Bull Markets. And you can also get a 100% deposit bonus for your first deposit up to $1,000. All you need to do is click the Trading Nut link in the description below.
So I guess for me, and a bit of backstory is I lost at trading for 2 years consistently, just losing money all the time, following all the get rich quick scams, putting, a couple $100 into a broker, losing it. And the main reason why I struggled for so long is because I didn't really care about trading itself. All I really cared about was just making money. I just wanted to make money. I don't care how I'm trading or how I'm going to get there. It was like borderline gambling. And then I got to a point where I'm like, okay, cool. If I want to treat this like an actual career, because that's what this is. It's not a hobby. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's a career that you can be doing for the next 10 plus years. I need to start actually treating it like one. So I kind of got out of the mindset of, okay, cool. Let me not chase the money and let me just chase becoming the best trader that I can be. It's not going to be a question of I might make money. It's like, no, if I become a good trader and I follow good risk management and good rules, I'm going to make money. So therefore, let me not focus on the outcome and focus on actually just becoming a good trader. So I tried to eliminate as much as I can of the emotions in trading. But with that being said, do I still get FOMO? Do I still get the urge to revenge trade? Absolutely. I just learned to react to it very differently. And that's kind of what changed a lot for me.
It's a good point that you make, because I think, I suffer from the same thing, right? So for me, it's not necessarily that, it's more the fact that where it sits in my priority tree, right? So am I a trader, or am I running a podcast here, or am I doing something else? Where does it sit in that priority tree? And if it's not number one, it's always going to be a real struggle. And
Yeah.
to then, I suppose, how did you get to the point where you were like, well, let's make that number one priority versus identifying those, I suppose, habits or things that you were doing? What were you actually doing that was not making it a, career per se for you?
I guess, although trading is like my number one priority, I don't let it be the forefront of like my whole entire like identity and day. Like my first leap into full-time trading, the first like couple of weeks, this is like 2 to 3 years into my journey. The first few weeks into my journey of full-time trading was terrible because I was on the charts way more than I should have been. And if anything, that's what made me trade worse. Whereas now it's like, I feel like if you're busy in like external parts of your life, that can actually help you trade better. So sometimes having like a job or having like a business or having XYZ outside of trading can really help you a lot. Because I actually think the less time I spend on the charts, the better I trade. If I spend, 1 to 2 hours a day on the charts, like that's more than enough. Any more, I end up sitting there for 2 hours. I'm like, okay, cool. I've been here for 2 hours. I've not taken a trade, or I have to do something. And then I just start taking that random trade that I know I shouldn't be in, ends up being a loss. And then you go down that whole entire spiral. So for me, it's about, having balance as well. Like, especially if you're trying to balance like a relationship, for example, like if all I can think about is trading, then whenever I'm not on the charts, I can't enjoy family time because I'm always thinking, oh, what are the markets doing? It's like, the more I can detach from that, the better I trade. If that kind of sounds weird, but it's like, that's kind of how it works.
It's sort of counterintuitive and almost like it's a kind of like a oxymoron in how you actually achieve that over, like, I suppose somebody who's ill-disciplined them will just go, well, today I'm just going to be drawn to the charts and just do whatever I do on there. I mean, I watched your live stream just before this, right? And you did it for about an hour, maybe a little bit longer. Now, do you have it in your plan to jump back on the charts for a period of time for the rest of the day? Because the day has only just begun for you, right? So how does that look for you from a days ahead point of view?
So I'll kind of, I'm not really one to, I'd say like my main session to trade is probably Asia, especially being here in Australia. Like Asia's great. Gold has great moves, gives a couple of hundred ticks. But sometimes, like for instance, today I'll jump on and maybe the markets have already had like a massive move. Like NQ today, I was watching for a trader, had a huge like 200-point move. So I'm kind of thinking to myself, if I sit here and watch the markets after we've moved 200 points before I've been able to jump on, is anything good going to come from that right now? Probably not. I'm not going to try and short after a 200-point rip, and I'm also not going to try and chase after a 200-point rip. So the best thing I can do right now is just walk away for a couple of hours. And yeah, I'm okay with like, I know some people say like, this is my trading window when I'm going to trade between 9 to 11 and that's it. For me, sometimes, when I get a trade in that time, it's great. I take my trade and I'm done for the day. But it's like, I don't think the market's always that easy. Like if I don't get a trade in Asia, okay, cool. I'll probably maybe get a trade closer to pre-London, for example. But what I won't do is after a massive rip in Asia, sit there for the next few hours, hoping to get that next trade. I'm like, no, after a big move, the markets are going to range. They're going to find their feet and then we're going to get that next move. So let me walk away for 2-3 hours and then come back with a fresh mindset. Otherwise, I'll just end up FOMOing into a bad trade.
And talking about FOMO there, I mean, like, so say you walk away for 2-3 hours, how do you know when to come back? Or like when you do come back, say the move had happened just before you got back and the FOMO does kick in because you're going, well, had I been here 10 minutes earlier, I probably would have had enough time to analyze that and get in that trade that's gone off to rip again. And how does one manage that? Now, we talk a lot about strategy and mindset here on the Trading Nut podcast, but that doesn't really matter unless you've got the right environment to trade in. So if you're struggling with a prop firm, then I recommend checking out our partner, propfirmmatch.com. These folks have got a massive database of prop firms, got them all verified there with customer reviews. It's completely impartial and transparent. It's worthwhile checking them out. There's a coupon code and link in the description that's going to help you save some money at checkout too.
So it's one of them things where like that's an ongoing thing in people's trading journey. Like that's always going to happen where, you get them days where you're like, damn, if I had just come here 10 minutes earlier, I would have caught this huge trade. But it's like, does that happen more times than not? Well, if the answer is yes, okay, cool, I need to trade my changing hours. But if the answer is no, I go, cool, it is what it is. But for me personally, like the way that I like to trade is, yeah, I'm day trading. I'm in and out in the same day, but I'm not scalping. Like I'm not watching the 1 minute or I'm watching the 5 minute. I'm mainly watching hourly candle closures. So as I'm going about my day, I'll look at the time and I'll go, cool, it's 23 minutes past the hour right now. Well, there's no point me checking the charts. If I'm going to get a candle closure, well, it's going to be at the hourly close. So let me come back in 40 minutes, have a quick look at the hourly. Did it show me anything that tells me to sit down for the next hour? No, cool. Walk away for another hour. But if I got like an hourly, maybe grabbing lows, shaping up for a nice morning star, cool. I'll sit down and I'm going to trade the next hour. And that's kind of how I do it throughout my day to save myself not watching it for hours and hours and hours.
And do you ever log? So if you're journaling, and you mentioned a journal with the start there, would you ever log a missed trade that you take, that you miss, sorry, and what actually happened?
I used to, just for learning purposes. I don't so much anymore because I can already, see it before I need to journal it. But for people who are trying to learn, the missed trades are the important ones as well. But sometimes, for instance, this morning, NQ had a 200-point move up. People will say to themselves, if I was on 10 minutes earlier, I could have made 200 points. But realistically, it's you wouldn't have held that whole move anyway. So it's I don't beat myself up by saying, I would have made 200 points. Even if I was watching, I wouldn't have held that long. So I'll still keep it realistic that, okay, maybe I would have taken 50 or 100 points and kind of journal it that way. But me right now, I don't really journal as much as I did in my previous years. I kind of know if I make a mistake, I know what I did wrong. If I did something right, I know what I did right. Example, last Tuesday was one of my biggest drawdown trades ever, where last Tuesday morning, I woke up to being minus $20,000 on my personal account. And to me, that was a big mistake. That's the first time it's happened in a long time. And that I did journal because that was a big mistake that I had to learn from. So that's the only time I'll do it.
And was that a futures blip, i.e. left order on the chart and went to bed?
No, it was no. I wish it was just my. I'd been on a great winning streak on my personal for the past couple of months. I thought, I know exactly what my daily bias is going to do. So I don't trade New York because here it's overnight. I just kind of usually take my trades and just leave it. So I just took my trade based off the daily bias. I just kind of went to bed. I was happy to hold the position, and then I woke up and the daily ended up having a huge rip down, and I was long into a new high of week. And then I woke up to minus 20,000 in drawdown. And then that was a whole mental battle that day to actually get out of it. I ended up getting out of it for a decent profit, but it was a whole psychological hurdle to go through, which was a big test, but I definitely needed it.
I mean, going back to that, the market's ripped and you got this massive candle and, you're not actually, I remember back in the day, years ago, I'd see these massive candles. It's either I've got out too early or I've let it run. The reality is you just hit the nail on the head there. You're not going to take the whole candle anyway. You're not going to get out at the top unless you're some kind of savant. How do you even get to that point of what ingrains it into your mind that you realize that and you don't go, well, I could have made 20R if I just stuck to that trade and got out at the very top. What changed in your mind to have that way of thinking?
I still, for example, this morning on one of my funded accounts, I made, I think it was $1,300 or something on that NQ trade. I closed it about 100 points. If I had held it another 100 points, I would have made double. I would have made 3,000 US for the day by 10 a.m. But was it, and this is the constant battle that, I've been trading for 8 years. It gets easier, but it never goes away. I always, if I could be in a trade and I make, say 100 ticks on gold, it ends up ripping 300 ticks. Do I get FOMO after that? 100% I do. I think, damn, if I'd held this for that little bit longer, I would have made this much more. But you kind of have that voice in your head that says that. Then you have the other voice that says, did you follow your plan? And did you get out where you said you would? If the answer is yes, cool, I've done my job. Otherwise, you can always think I should have held for longer or I should have had more size. But it's we can always think like that. But I'm did I follow my plan? Did I get out where I said I would? Yes. If I didn't and I got out earlier than what I had planned, then cool, that's something I need to work on. But if I got out where I said I would, I've done my job. It's
And I
a
suppose,
hard nut.
the reality is like it's not a plan you can execute over and over again, right? If you're going, well, I'm just going to get the whole move, then if that's not part of your plan, you're not going to be able to do it for the next trade, and the next trade
100%.
needs to work in your probability favor as well. Now, if you had to sort of relate trading back to something else in your life, like something that you've seen, or like it could be a sport, could be something else. What would you say is the most sort of, I suppose, similar thing to trading that you could, give somebody a thought about, so they can go ahead and go, well, if I'm going to think about trading, maybe I could think about this at the same time and go, well, if I was this kind of person or doing this activity, trading might seem a little bit easier.
It's actually a really good point. I started Jiu-Jitsu the past, I want to say year. And that's very similar to trading, because that's all about figuring things out under pressure and knowing what to do in certain situations. Whereas if you just crumble under pressure in trading, you'll lose money. If you crumble under pressure in jiu-jitsu, you're going to get tapped out. And it's a good point in the sense of, how I said earlier, how what I do off the charts is very important. For me, my morning routine before I go on the charts is so important. If I wake up of bed, I roll onto the charts, I'm going to trade like crap. Whereas now it's I'll wake up in the morning, I'll get some sun, I'll go to the gym, I'll walk my dog, I'll have my coffee, and then I'll go onto the charts. So doing all these things off the charts, which in your earlier days, it sounds stupid. How is going to the beach and going to the gym going to help me trade better? Which I absolutely get. If you don't have a good trading plan, it's not going to make a difference. But it's all about how you prepare to show up. And for me, doing something like jiu-jitsu, it's almost like my meditation, where when I'm trading in jiu-jitsu, I'm just thinking about that. Because if I think about something else, then I'm going to get submitted by someone. The same as trading. It's whenever I'm trading, I'm trying to focus on just trading, not about all these what ifs all the time. I'm thinking about, this is what I'm doing, and let me just manage my position. But it's what you do off the charts is, to me, it's very, 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 very important.
Yeah, so it's almost like, are you almost saying the whole, what you do on the charts is a reflection of what you're doing off the charts. And so if you've got a kind of hectic, random life with no discipline, just sporadic spur of the moment stuff, changes every day, for sure, you're probably going to struggle on the charts, or you're going to see that on the charts.
Yeah, 100%. I think trading can either make you into a better or worse person. For me, trading definitely has helped me build that discipline. And if I don't have discipline off the charts, then how can I expect to be a disciplined trader? If I don't work out, or if I don't do the things that I say I'm going to do, but then I expect to trade well, it's very, very difficult. Whereas if I'm disciplined outside of my life, well, that's 100% going to follow through to the charts.
And so thinking about, let's say you go on a overseas long haul flight, you go on a trip overseas, you're now going to have the jet lag, your routine's out of whack, you need to kind of reset things. How do you determine okay, well, now I'm ready to get back into the charts and start trading again? And is there any kind of I suppose FOMO around the fact that you're not going to be potentially making as much money that month because you've traveled and you now have to reset and blah blah blah, all this sort of thing? How do you manage that?
I think one thing in my earlier days, I would always be, if I didn't go on the charts a day, like today, if I wasn't able to make the charts, I would be erratic. I'm oh my God, what am I missing? What are the markets doing? Should I be trading? Whereas now I'm again, in my earlier days, when it was the weekend, I used to hate the weekends because I can't trade. But now I'm no, I need the weekends to mentally reset. And now I've kind of gone from that mindset of, the markets are moving 24 hours, 5 days a week. But does that mean I always have to be on the charts to make money? Absolutely not. So for the past, I want to say June, we were moving back from Europe to Australia. And that, as a process, moving with a dog is very, very difficult. So my chart time during that month was very limited. But funnily enough, June ended up being one of my best months for the year. And I think it all came down to not watching every single up and down tick of a trade, and just more so focusing on the higher time frame, which was a big eye opener for me. In May, I think I traded probably at least every day. in June, I think I maybe traded like maybe 10 trades for the whole month, and June ended up being way more. So that kind of made me see, look, sometimes in this game, less is more. Don't get me wrong. When the markets are good, you get more trades, you might make more money, but majority of the time, for me, less is more. The less time I spend on the charts or less time I spend jumping in random trades, the more money I make. So that detachment from the charts, like, it does help as well. But if ever I'm not, like, for example, of like jet lagged, if ever I'm not 100% feeling it, I just won't trade. Like, I don't care to not be on the charts every single day. If ever I wake up and you have them days where I'm like, you know what? I don't really feel like trading today. I'm okay to not trade every single day. I really don't care anymore. Whereas I used to, but now I'm like, the markets are moving. I don't have to be in it. There'll be a trade tomorrow. There'll be a trade the week after or the month after. They're not going anywhere.
And I think that's like a hurdle every single trader needs to get past, is the fact that it ain't going away. And even I remember back in the day, it was like, yeah, they say it's not going away, but then I think it's going to go away. I need to. It was literally like crazy addiction. But I mean, that's it's interesting you say that. So so less is more. Your best month was when you did less trading. I mean, I think, and I vaguely recall when you first came on the show, you were living in Bali and you had, you might have even been down on the 5-minute chart. Is that right? Would you?
Yeah.
So how did that transition happen? How did you go from 5-minute up to higher time frames? Now just looking at hourly candles.
So I've kind of done like a whole swing. I've gone from swing trading to then during 2020 when the markets were all over the place, then I transitioned into more day trading. And I thought day trading means I have to be, watching the 1 and 5 minute in and out multiple times a day. Whereas now I've kind of got to the point that for me, I 90% of the time, I'm only trading gold. And for me, for gold, for different markets, it might be different. I don't think so. But for me, the majority of the time, whenever I sometimes do still trade the 5 minute, but I will now, the one thing I will never do is open my charts and go straight to the 5 minute and try and figure out what the markets are trying to do. Because most of the time, it's just noise. So one thing I'll do now is the most important part of my plan is having my daily bias. As soon as I've got my daily bias, for example, yesterday on gold, we closed bullish. Cool. Today, when I come onto the markets, I'm not trying to fight that. I'm only looking for longs. So now when I drop down to lower time frame, I know that I want to be a buyer, not a seller. And I find on gold, the most consistent time frames to trade and the cleanest, I should say, is the hourly. So as soon as I get my hourly candle closure, then I might drop down to trade the next hour on the 5 minute. But majority of the time, I find the hourly is the nicest because I can take a trade, I can set my stops, I can set my alerts, and I can just walk away for an hour, sometimes 2, 3, 4 hours if I have to. And I'm still within the futures props of closing trades within the same day. And for people who want to get into day trading doesn't mean you have to be watching the 1 and 5 minute all day. Day trading is you could take a trade in the morning in Asia and you could hold it all the way to London or New York if you wanted to. And I find for gold, that hourly time frame is just very easy, but more importantly, consistent to read. And that's what I want, easy and consistent.
And so if you had to break down your stats, what would they look like for someone looking at your P&L? Like win rate, risk to reward, that kind of thing.
Should I share my screen with you so you can see it for the year?
Oh yeah, if you've got trades, share your screen and we'll have a look at them.
Let's have a look. So this is my year to date, sitting around 334,000 with a 71% win rate and an average of 3 risk to reward. And one thing to note here though is like this win rate, everyone focuses on. Like again, I don't really care about win rate that much. I like to have a good win rate, but do I really care that much? Not really. Like, do I focus on trying to get a high win rate? Not really. I just trade. Same as the risk reward. One thing I don't do is I don't always go for a fixed risk reward. I just take a trade and I manage my risk reward as the trade progresses. And that's what we're sitting around for the year. And if I just show you the example of what I spoke about earlier, you can see in April, I traded almost every single day. And then in May and more so June, I hardly traded, but like I said, made way more. So it's, again, like I said, I think everyone gets very fixated on these things, but I personally, I don't focus on this. I upload everything to here so people can see it, but I just focus on just taking good trades. None of this is my focus at all. I just want to focus on just taking good trades and just executing well. And like, that's it. Even in July, I've taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trades. And that's, to me, is more than enough. More than enough.
Awesome. It's very rare that I get this kind of like view on the channel. So appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah,
And if you had to kind of describe your strategy, and we've talked about timeframes, we've seen some of the stats. I mean, where'd you learn it? How did you get good at it? And can you kind of give people an idea as to what you're actually doing?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, I only really trade gold. And I like to keep it very simple from a technical perspective, because I find the more I overcomplicate the charts, the more I have to think about, the more reason to hesitate and lose money or end up going down that rabbit hole. So I trade very simple: price action and liquidity. And when I say liquidity, again, I think it's a very overcomplicated word these days. But all I mean by liquidity is one thing that gold loves to do is it loves to come up and tag previous highs or lows, squeeze out any early buyers or sellers before having that next move. And that is as simple as it is. I'm trying to identify levels of support that price hasn't grabbed, and I'm trying to short down into that support. But before I even do that, the most important part of my plan is my daily bias. So although I'm day trading, I'm in and out within the same day, how the previous day closed is very important. Like, if the daily maybe came down, tagged lows and held support, cool. The next day before I even jump down, I want to be a buyer, for example. Or if the daily closed doji, it didn't grab any highs or lows. Coming on to the next day, I don't have much of a daily bias. Well, that day I'm going to be a little bit more patient. So for me, I used to just charts straight to the 5 minute, and it'd be my P&L be very up and down. But now the days where I have a clear daily bias, they're the days I want to maximize. The days where I don't have much of a clear daily bias, they're the days, kind of like today, I want to sit on my hands a little bit more.
Yeah, interesting. And so how did you get that like view of daily bias? Because I mean, there's every candle looks different pretty much. Did you sort of come up with a list of like, if the candle does this, then I've got, talked about a doji being, I don't really know, it's 50-50. Are there days where you're just like, I've got no idea because I've not really seen it before?
Yeah, 100%. I like, a lot of the time I jump on and, like one of my favorite patterns, and it's very simple again, is like a morning or evening star or like a head and shoulders. Like, to me, they're great patterns on gold that is respected for a long, long time. If I get like maybe the daily, previous day's bullish, maybe this day's tag and highs, closing doji, we're shaping up for a bit of an evening star call. The next day, I'm going to maximize shorts into the daily lows. If I come on and maybe we've grabbed highs, we've grabbed lows the next day, and we're kind of closing in a bit of a range, and I don't know 100%, I'm absolutely also okay with not knowing where that day wants to go. And the reason I'm okay with not knowing where that day wants to go is because I maximize the days where my daily bias is clear. But sometimes people will look at the daily and there was a clear daily bias, say yesterday, but today there's not, but they didn't maximize yesterday, so they feel like they need to force something today. But if I maximize the days where my daily bias is clear, then on the charts, when I come on and the daily bias isn't clear, I'm like, I don't really care. I'm happy to not trade and just sit on my hands and just wait. But when I have a clear daily bias, I want to maximize them days as much as I can. Okay.
Real quick here, folks. Now, a lot of you have been asking me, how do I learn to read price action? Well, the guy who taught me is JJ. And what I've managed to do is convince him to share with you a strategy for free. It takes 7 minutes to learn. You can get access to it via the link in the description or visit dynamictradersclub.com. And so when you say maximize, what do you mean by maximize?
So if I have let's say a daily evening star shaping up, the next day I'm looking for like shorts down into the lows, and it's like maybe like a 500 tick range into the lows. Like, I want to maximize that 500 tick range, and I'm very confident in my shorts. So I'll just try and maximize that range as much as I can and just look to get the best entries like around the daily open and try and hold it into them daily highs or lows as much as I can. Whereas a day that I can't maximize as much as the days where, maybe I can see longs, maybe I can see shorts, I'm not really too sure. But the days where I have a clear bias, like say shorts, for example, When I drop down to my lower time frame, I want to look for like the best sell setups to short all the way down to the day lows and make as much as I can. Trading the same size too. I don't trade any more size with more daily buys.
Do you think so you're trading in Asia, right? And you're trading gold. I mean, you've got London and New York to get through. If you're going to try and, target these lows and highs and stuff, I mean, do you find that you get enough of a move in Asia, or you kind of have to get out and at the end of Asia before London gets in? How do you sort of manage that sort of cross-session changeover where a potential runner or a trade that you haven't even cut partials on is going to go all the way back to break even or to a loss?
Yeah, it's a good point. And I actually think that's probably like the biggest reason I love trading Asia is because let's say if I have a daily closing like bearish doji at resistance and coming onto the charts the next day, I want to short down into the daily lows. What you'll see a lot of the time in Asia is Asia will usually be that like top wick of the day where the daily opens and pushes up before then going short. And a lot of the time, Asia, the daily bias plays out in Asia. Like I think it was yesterday and the day before. The daily bias played out before London even started. So London was very difficult to trade. So that's why I think I love Asia so much, is because you typically get that false move of the day. And as soon as that happens, that gives me the best short to short down into daily lows before London and New York's even open. So when I was back in Europe, when I couldn't trade Asia, it was very difficult because the daily bias had kind of already been met. So I was a little bit more scrambled. Whereas Asia, I love it so much because that daily bias typically happens in like the first, say, 3-4 hours. And I'm usually done for the day, ideally, not every day.
Yeah, it is. I mean, funnily enough, gold is interesting. It's so good. I mean, I only trade gold as well, right? So nice. I know what you mean. And there's like at 1 p.m. my time, and probably when you just ended your stream today, you get a massive move. For whatever reason, I don't know who's jumping in there, but you get that big push. And sometimes you get whipsawed, but it's like there's always a big push at that time of day, which can pay you enough, right?
100%.
Hey, Aaron, it's been fantastic having you on. Before we leave, though, I mean, if you were going to give some advice to the guys and girls listening, one bit of advice that helped you, what would it be?
Biggest thing for me is like just focus on just having good execution. Don't overthink too much. If it's a win, it's a win. If it's a loss, it's a loss. Who cares? And always remember, like, I always thought like more advanced traders had no emotions or no FOMO. I mean, like I said, I've been trading for 8 years. Do I still get times where I have FOMO and I have the urge to revenge? 100%. But just learn to understand what triggers certain emotions, journal it, and learn, okay, cool. When price rips up 100 ticks, I usually FOMO in and I usually lose money. Okay, cool. If I jump on, prices ripped 100 ticks, walk away for a couple of hours. You still get the same emotions, but learn the triggers and learn how to avoid them.
Brilliant. Great. Now, I created an app called TraderZen for when my revenge trading kicks in. And what I've created is a feature called Manual Override. It allows me to jump into the exact symptom that I'm feeling at the time and then find an audio that's going to help reset my mind and get me back on track. If you want to find out more about it, TraderZen.app, or there's a link in the description and the QR code on screen. Well, look, folks, what we're going to do is jump into a price chart, see what he actually does in the market. So if you want to learn some technicals, we're about to do that. Thanks again, Aaron. Folks, head down below, grab Aaron's links. Actually, list them out here before we leave.
So you can find me on YouTube, just Aaron Trades. I'm live for the Asian session every single day.
Brilliant. Okay, we'll hook those up in the show notes page down there below. Whilst you're down there, hit subscribe, like, and that notifications bell, and we'll see you in that next video right now.